Here are my fabric options for my dolly. I'm gonna do a black and brown mix, and then I have this cute floral print. It's like this really light olive green with orange and blue, and then it has black or navy blue back here, but I think it looks cute. So I'm gonna do these for my colors, and then before we cut, I wanted to just talk about the pattern. So obviously this is a free pattern. This is an old pattern by Swoon, and it doesn't sew up to be a big bag. You can see here, this is the main panel, and so that's as big as it's going to be. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 tall by about 7 wide. So it's just a cute little tiny bag, but it's really nice because it has this cool rounded bottom edge. But so you want to print out the pattern pieces and cut them out. And I have made some changes. I kept the vinyl accent piece. I kept the vinyl snap tab the same. The main panel, I kept the same, but I amended the pocket panel. So you can see the original pocket panel, you fold at the dashed line and you cut that, but I made mine a lot smaller. So it's about 1.25 inches shorter. I'll just double check for you. So it's 1.5, just about 1.5. So it's 1 3/8 shorter. And the reason I did that is because when you're sewing the bag up, everything like the flap, the back panel top piece, everything condenses right here in this one corner, and it creates a huge bulky seam. So what I did is I shortened my pocket, and that alleviates a lot of that stress in this area while sewing. So what I did is I took the pattern piece and then I just shortened it. I just cut it right off and made a new piece. So if you're at the folded dash line, yep, so it's 1.25 shorter than the folded dash line. You can play with this. You can leave it how you want, if you want it tall, or you can shorten it, but that's just what I did to the pocket panel. Then the back panel top is the same, back panel bottom is the same, and then my cork flaps. So I changed this a decent amount because what I like to do is cut 2, glue them wrong sides together, and then I edge coat just the flap. If you want to, you can do right sides together and flip, and then add your snap tab, like so. But I like the look of it with the edge coated, and then so I made it a little bit wider, and I deepened these side cuts here. So again, you can do what you want with the cork flap, or with the flap. That's just what I did because I just like the look of it. I made it wider so that it covers the entire front of the bag instead of being a little bit more narrow inside the bag. So yeah, that's what I did. I don't have the original flap to compare for you because I made this several years ago, and this is just what I use. And then here is my pricing breakdown. Now this is an old pricing breakdown because cork has obviously gone up in price since then. I'm not sure what cork price I used because it is so old, but I had that my total materials was $22.84. So multiplying that by 4, mine is $92.36. Just for inflation and everything being so much more expensive, I have always sold these at $100. So that's what I sell these for. And this is the original size. This is 100% when I flipped it. So let's get to cutting. So I think what I want to do is a black bag with brown accents. So I'm going to cut out. So you need 2 flat pieces, but I'm going to do the inside flap brown, but the outside flap I'll do black. So I'm just going to trace this and get to cutting. If you want to just do a rough cut on this, you can, and then cut it with your scissors if you need to be more precise. I always cut these top sections with my scissors just because it's hard to get a rotary blade down in that tight little corner without nicking the side. So then, oh, hi, Drizzy. Okay, so there's one flap. So that's going to be the exterior flap, so I know that I need to cut one more out of brown, so I'm just going to stack that and move it to the side. The accent is going to be brown, this snap tab is going to be brown, and then I think everything else will be black. You could do your gusset as the accent color as well, but I'm going to stick to black for everything else, I think. Move those to the side. Okay. Back panel bottom. So this is going to be on the inside of the back pocket. This is what you'll see when you open the back pocket up. And then when I'm tracing, you just want to mark your centers. If you have a flip piece, a fold or cut on fold piece, and then you know that it's even. So back, bottom. Okay. And then the main panel, you cut one exterior. This is what's going to be on the front. This is what the vinyl accent piece is going to lay on. I should have cut that one first. I try to be really mindful of the curved pieces just because it really does kind of waste cork, all these angled pieces and curved pieces, which is why you don't see a whole lot of these type of bags for me, because I'm just such a stickler for not wasting that I tend to do like rectangle cut bags. So I don't do a whole lot of the coffin wallets anymore. I love them, but the cuts, like to get the angle of the coffin, there's a lot of small pieces that get wasted. All right, so this, because it is the front panel, we need to transfer our female snap placement, so be sure to do that. Okay, so front panel. And then we're going to ignore the pocket panel here because I amended it. Let's see, can I get a pocket panel out of this? Probably. Okay. Now this pocket, because I made it so tiny, it is a really small pocket, but you can put like receipts and stuff like that in it. It is way too small to hold a phone. And this size purse, you'd want to put the phone on the inside of the bag. And it's been so long since I've looked at the original pattern that I don't remember if it has a pocket or anything on the inside, but I do not put a pocket on mine. So back pocket. And then now we need to do our gusset. Now, if you're using a directional fabric, you'll see on this piece that you would leave it as printed because you want to cut two, since you're going to be joining a directional fabric. That I run into when I'm cutting out my lining fabric a lot of the time, but because this external piece is all cork and it's all one piece, I'm just going to fold that little section up and then I'll flip and mirror it to get one big gusset piece. And if you forget to do that, that's okay, because at the end when we're joining our gusset to our main panel, you'll just have a little bit of overlap at the top and you can just trim that off. Alrighty, so there is our gusset. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to mark for my side anchors now. And I don't add the anchors on the outside like the pattern says. I do recessed. So the original line here is the top line there is just over 3.25. I'm going to bump it down to 3.5. and make a line, and then I'm going to mark my center here as well. So let's see. It's almost 3, so 1.5. So here's my center, and then now I know I'm going to do 1 inch strap, so I know that I need to cut it from here to here with my X-Acto blade, and I'm just going to mirror that on this side. So what did I say, 3.5? Yeah. And the reason I'm doing 3.5 is because if you did the traditional external strap connector, then your strap or your hardware would be resting just below this top line. So I'm just, you know, thinking ahead and mirroring that with my cut here. Okay, so then we need to find the middle, 1.5, and then mark our 1 inch cut line. All right, and then I'm gonna do brown for my strap anchors and then my accent pieces. Let me get this out of the way. Alrighty, so just trim this off. And this little piece here will probably be good for my strap anchor. So I'm gonna do 3 inches by 2 inches for my strap anchor. There's one. This is going to be a little bit shy on the side, but that's fine. I'll just be mindful of my folding. All right, and then now I need my accent pieces here. Now this vinyl accent piece is a big waste of cork because of this big curve, but it is cool. It provides a really cool look to the bag, so I always keep it. But it does, oops, waste this whole piece here. And now I keep this as a raw edge piece, so I'm gonna finish off, which you'll see once I get there, but I'm gonna put glue or 1 coat of base coat to seal that edge so that it doesn't peel. I need a new rotary blade because it's skipping. Okay, so there's the vinyl accent piece. And then I need 2 snap tabs. So I'm just going to line up this long edge here. And I always kind of mess this piece up. So what I like to do is just cut 1. And then I'm just gonna lay this down on the cork and cut the other. So I'm just gonna lay it right, y'all. And then of course, after we sew this, we'll trim it and make sure that all the edges are nice and even. But this also gets edge coated. or glued to seal the edges. Okay, so now we have 2. I'm gonna mark my hole on one of these. So you can see it's wonky already. That's how these always are for me. They're just always wonky. There's my snap hole. All right. You saw me just cut it out. I don't know how this happens. Just every single time. All right, so we got our snaps, or snap tab. And then the last thing that you need to cut is your strap. And I have one from the other day that I found. Actually, no, this is only 1.5 inches wide, so never mind. I need to cut my strap. All right, so I'm gonna do a brown strap just because it's an accent, and I'm gonna do the 4-fold. Do I want to do 4-fold? No, I'll do the way that I normally do them. So I'll do one 2-inch and then 1.75 inch. And what that'll do is I'll have an accent color on top. So I'm actually going to do the brown as the accent, since keeping with the theme. I'm just going to cut 0.75 off this. And then let's see how long that is. So we're at 36, 37, 38. So I want, so I'm gonna do another 20 inches so that it's about 60 inches long. I try to keep my straps decently long because, you know, we all have different size torsos and we're just all different sizes. So I try to make my straps inclusive, size inclusive for everybody. Okay, so wrap this back up. And then now I need to get the black and I need to cut out the main strap piece. So that'll be the 2 inches by the 60. Oh, sorry, Jersey. Jersey's on my chair back here behind me and I just sent her around in circles. I hit the chair. So on this one, we're at right around 42 inches. So 42, so I need 18 by 2 to make that 60. All right. And then now we just need to cut out our lining and our interfacing. And what's nice is the lining, it just has the 2 main panels and then the gusset, and that's it. Well, oh, and the pocket, the back pocket lining, which you could leave raw if you wanted to. All right, so just before I get too far ahead of myself, I'm just gonna clip my straps together so that I know they're ready to go. Okay, so I'm gonna grab my gusset that I cut out of the cork, and I'm gonna grab my main panel, and then I'm gonna grab my back pocket, wherever it went to. Here we go. And then I'm gonna use these to cut out my fabric. This fabric is so cute. It's by Moda. It's the Words to Live By and Gingerbread, I think might be the name of the fabric line. So I'm just gonna leave it double folded so that I can cut out both of these at once. So you cut out 2 of the main panel here. And then we need 1 back pocket. And then 1 gusset. I'm cutting these all to the same size, but when I'm sewing the lining, I'm going to taper my seam allowance in significantly so that the inside is not droopy or baggy. And so it's just a nice seamless fit. And it's been a while since I've made one of these bags, but I do remember the last time I made one, I was able to get such a nice fit inside. And what I did was I just used a combination of tape and glue to seal my birthing hole. And so then the inside was nice and seamless. I didn't have a big birthing hole stitch line in there. Okay, so get this folded and get this out of the way. And then we need to cut out our interfacing. And that's a 1/2 yard of fabric, and you can see there's still so much left. So this is a really good small bag if you want to test out sewing with cork on curves and not use up a ton of cork. And especially if you make it all out of fabric, it doesn't use a lot at all. Okay, so I just have Pellin 809, and so it's a double fold. It's 45 inches wide. So I like this because it comes double folded and you can just cut everything at one time. Okay, so our main panels. Just need 1. I might have a scrap big enough for this. Do I? Yeah. Love it when that happens. And so it's because this is the only interfacing on this bag, you want to make sure that it's nice and stiff. Decaville heavy, well, I don't know heavy. I've never used heavy. But Decaville light, I think, would be a really good interfacing for this. This 809 is not insanely thick, but it gives it a decent structure, and it's just what I always use, so I'm used to that type of structure. Let's see if I can get away with using the scrap. Yep. But if you wanted to have a little bit more structure and you only have 808 or 809, you could double up, or you could just leave it single. That's totally fine. But yeah, obviously you need to structure your bags how you like them structured. Some people like softer bags. Some people like really structured, stiff bags. So that's up to you. If you wanted to, alternatively, you can do an 808 or 809 or Decaville light, and then you could even do Peltex or something on just the gusset. That would give it a nice firm base, but it's going to be a pain in the butt to flip. So just consider Jersey's in my bias tape drawer, pulling everything out back here. But yeah, so that's just something to consider is, you know, how structured you want it. It's just going to reflect on how painful it is to birth. So just think about that. All right, so now we have everything cut and ready to go. And what the last step that we need to do to prep all of our pieces is just to what's it called? Iron our interfacing here. So I'll be back in just a second. So one quick note before I interface, I just realized I forgot to cut out my other flat piece, but what I'm gonna do is when I'm ready to, I'm just gonna take this flat piece and I'll glue it to a bigger cork piece and then I'll cut it out. So then I know that I have nice even edges. So I'm gonna do that whenever we get started on the construction. So I didn't totally forget, but I did in that instance of cutting. But now what we need to do is just iron and interface our pieces. I picked up this misting spray bottle at Lowe's and I love it for getting my cotton wet. So instead of steaming on my iron, I just like to mist it with water. And this mister is just perfect. It's much better than a traditional spray bottle. So it might be something cool to consider in your studio. All right, so I'm just gonna interface these. Totally put my iron on that exposed interfacing there. Okay, let's do our pocket now. I also use this mister to spray my plants, which is, they love that. Now that I have a mister, I can just walk around every morning and just mist my plants so that they're nice and that the leaves can get some action instead of just the roots. Yes, it's expensive in the way of, you know, spray bottles. It's not $1. I think I paid like 10 or 11 bucks for it, but definitely finding a lot of use in my household with it. So because when I cut these, they were pretty rough cut, what I like to do in order to keep my iron as clean as possible, which is a joke, but I do try, just take the other pieces of cotton and put it around the edges. So then when you're interfacing, it doesn't get on your iron, these pieces that are hanging out. And then it basically irons the upcoming piece that you're going to be using, or that you need to interface rather. You just got to be careful on that last piece, of course. I'm going to trim this. Oops. It's so weird how some fabrics do that. It just, whoa, the dogs are going crazy out there. But it just made this fabric, it shriveled it all up, and it didn't do that to any of the other pieces. All right, so I'm just going to trim that off. And then what I'm going to do, because I don't want these ripples, is I'm going to peel this back off and re-interface it. Obviously, the nicer you have your pieces prior to construction, the better up you're setting yourself. Or you're setting yourself up better for a nice completed piece, because if they're all wrinkly and yucky before you start, you're just setting yourself up for disaster. All right, so now we have all of our pieces interfaced and ready to go. So the next step, we will do prep and then we'll start our construction.